One everyone! Welcome back to your channel! I'm 11, I'm your puppy girl who escaped from the lab just to see you, and today we're finally reacting to the second Punic War Oversimplified Part 3. This one's really long, the video's like 50 minutes, so buckle in, because we're gonna be here for a good long time. I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's been so exciting learning more about the Punic War, and I hope you guys have been enjoying those videos too. If you have, please make sure to write 1-1 in the comments and make sure to reply to all the comments. They say 1-1. Thank you so much for all your help understanding this part of history, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. 1-1. Let's get started.
This video was made possible by NordVPN. Click the link in the description
Also,
to get an
hopefully,
exclusive
the sound is
deal
less
with
quiet
4
today.
extra months. Head over to the merch store to pick up some character pins, calendars, and more.
I really
Also,
like his merch.
ever
It's
needed
really
to
good.
enact vengeance on your enemies, but always felt too shy? Well, fear not. Little Hannibal is here. Support
Pocket
our channel
Hannibal.
by heading over to oversimplified.youtube.com and buying your very own pocket-sized piece of vengeance. Our exclusive Hannibal figure is in limited supply, so get it quick.
Little recap. Last episode was crazy. So much happened. It's hard to imagine what's gonna happen in the last hour or so. Oh, and you guys told me the marshes were drained. That's why I don't know of them now. That was crazy. Kanye was crazy. Open mouth.
How do you solve a problem like Hannibal? In a crisis such as this, the Romans often turn to religion.
I do have the closed captions on. I don't know why they're not. Why they're not on? Hopefully they kick in later.
What's going on? Are the gods mad at us? The gods must be mad at us. But why?
Quick, goat
Why? No, why?
sacrifices.
2 of the Vestal virgins broke their sacred oath and lost their virginity. That's why Hannibal's kicking our ass.
The only
What should
reason.
we do with them? Appease the gods! Bury them alive! Who did they even boink? It was those guys! Huh? What should we do with them? Beat them to death!
Needless to say, the Romans
Yeah, that's gonna fix all the problems. That's what I do. When something goes wrong in life, just find some virgins and some guys to murk.
were freaking out. Okay, now that that's out of our system, let's go find a real solution. The real solution, first of all, involved raising a new army. Remember, at Cannae, Hannibal had wiped out the biggest army Rome had ever fielded. Possibly 20% of Rome's military-aged men. Rome needed to replace those losses, and fast, before Hannibal arrived at their gates. But where would those replacements come from? Rome had a few ideas.
Quick! Lower the age of conscription! You! Put
Send
down those
toddlers
Digimons! You're a
to the front
soldier now!
lines.
Enlist all these slaves with the promise of freedom! And equip them with all these religious weapons and armor!
Religious, are they actually functional? Because you know how sometimes religious stuff can be decorative. Are we gonna send old people to our
Anything
tomb?
we've got!
Women?
All right, men! You are Rome's last line of defense! Man the walls!
I'm sure this is gonna go really well.
After the earth-shattering defeat at Cannae, the Romans expected Hannibal to arrive at their gates any day now. In Hannibal's camp, the mood was triumphant.
We did it! We won! So when do we march on Rome? Today? I'm free in 10 minutes.
Whoa, slow down. We're not going to Rome. We're staying right here. Are you an idiot, Hannibal? No, I'm smart. We don't need to march on Rome, because after what we did, the Romans are definitely going to surrender.
I feel like that might be a slight miscalculation.
Watch. Hey, Jim Bob. Yes, sir? Go to Rome and discuss peace terms. Yes, sir. Hey, I'm here to discuss peace terms.
Piss off! They told me to piss off!
Wow, that's
What?
not okay.
They didn't surrender? No! And they were mean!
Hannibal was
Unbelievable.
learning that Rome had an unprecedented attitude towards surrender. Even when Hannibal offered to ransom thousands of prisoners back to Rome, a pretty common practice in ancient warfare, the Romans refused, opting to let their own men be sold into slavery rather than paying a penny to the enemy. It was clear that in order to defeat Rome, you had to annihilate them. If any Roman man was still standing, you hadn't yet won. But still, Hannibal decided not to march on Rome, and it was
Sacrifice a child. Done. Whining cheese. Gotta get a cheese board. Start an elephant petting zoo. I don't know how many elephants they have left, Hannibal.
a controversial decision. Even one of his own commanders famously told him, "Hannibal, you know how to win a battle, but you do not know how to win a war."
Damn.
From Hannibal's perspective, perhaps he knew his army was designed to survive behind enemy lines and sow chaos. It may not have been well equipped to undertake a risky siege of one of the most fortified cities on Earth. Plus, with many of the southern cities defecting to his side after Cannae, Hannibal likely thought things were going pretty well, as is. We'll stay the course. Okay, so the Romans didn't surrender after 3 major defeats. But surely they'll surrender after 4.
I mean, how many major defeats can you inflict upon a nation before you've just kinda killed them all?
Unfortunately for Hannibal, however, after Cannae, the Romans well and truly learnt their lesson.
Yeah, they're not gonna come fight
Well,
now.
Would you
surely?
look at that? Remind me.
Maybe we should follow this guy's plan, which was just to run and try and drain Hannibal's resources.
Who was it that said Hannibal was too dangerous to fight? You. And who said we shouldn't fight him directly? You. And who tried to fight him directly? Us. And what happened? We lost 20% of our military-aged men. That's right. So tell me, when Hannibal approaches, what do?
We run.
We run away. I'm a genius. Clap for me. After Cannae, Fabius Maximus kind of became the unofficial leader of Rome. Even if others were elected consul, his influence was unparalleled, and Rome quickly reverted to the Fabian strategy of avoiding.
This is such an energy drink fund. The Fabian Strategy Fund is an energy drink fund. I'm not gonna say brands, but you see, guys, right? Also, Fabian right now has the biggest "I told you so" moment.
Hannibal. They knew they couldn't defeat him, so instead, they hoped they could at least contain him. They raised an impressively large number of men, partly by enlisting teenagers, slaves, and criminals. And rather than trying to fight Hannibal, they instead turned their attention towards those treacherous southern cities that had switched sides. Thanks for joining the winning team, guys. Here's the deal. All you have to do is provide me some troops and defend your own city, since I'll be too busy to defend it for you. Now, I'm going to briefly turn around, look this way, and when I look back, you better not be being massacred by the Romans.
Oh, for goodness sake!
The Romans spread out their newly formed legions and began attacking the southern cities here, there, everywhere. The southern
Yeah,
cities
you can't be everywhere at the same time. I know Italy isn't the biggest country, but there's a lot of ground to cover.
expected to have Hannibal's protection, and Hannibal was inundated with requests for help. He was forced to run around southern Italy, trying to encourage defection while rescuing his own allies. But when he showed up, the Romans would often leave, only to come back the second he went away again. And as these southern cities found themselves being punished severely by the Romans, they began to realize that joining Hannibal may not have been such a good idea.
Hey! You think you're so big? Attacking my allies? Why don't you come out and face me?
Nah.
Because you're scary!
The fickle southern cities frequently switched sides depending on who appeared to be winning, and the whole
I don't know how many soldiers those cities have, but that makes sense. If you can't defend yourself, you're just gonna try not to get massacred at every turn.
situation became a nightmare for Hannibal to control, playing a constant game of Roman whack-a-mole to fend off the enemy armies. Having not long ago seemed near extinction, the Romans had managed to turn the situation around by placing Hannibal in a clever predicament. If he left southern Italy, the southern cities would likely capitulate to Rome, meaning he couldn't leave. And since the Romans wouldn't fight him, he couldn't inflict any more dangerous defeats. For now, Hannibal had been muzzled. Southern Italy had been...
I wonder if there's any way he can force a fight. Apart, I guess he could march to Rome. That's like the only thing, right? It's going straight for Rome.
...been his prize for his impressive Italian campaign. But those clever Romans found a way to take his prize and turn it into his prison. With the Fabian strategy neutralizing Hannibal for now, the Romans were freed up to refocus their attention to other fronts.
What else do they have
This
going
whole
on?
time, while we've been discussing Hannibal and the Italian campaign of the Second Punic War, fighting had actually been occurring elsewhere. For example, in
What's going on
216
there,
BC, the Romans had sent an army north to punish the Celtic tribes that had joined Hannibal. However, as the Romans entered the Latana forest, little did they know those clever Celts had set up a trap. The Celts dropped trees on them, decimating the Romans, and they
Yep, that would do it. Horses don't really like having trees dropped on
even
them.
took the commander's head to use as a religious sippy cup. So that went pretty bad. Whoa,
It's a big
very
sippy cup.
bad. But thankfully, in other theaters, things were
That's
going
a lot
a
of
bit
Romans
better.
killed, wow.
For example, let's look at Sicily. After Cannae, internal chaos in Syracuse caused this longtime Roman ally to switch sides. Because being a winner is more fun.
It's true.
The Carthaginians also landed troops, hoping to retake their lost island, while Roman proconsul Claudius Marcellus moved in to besiege Syracuse. The siege was a brutal slug for the Romans, largely due to the presence of one famous scientist and mathematician, Archimedes. He lived in Syracuse at the time, and he invented...
I know why in my mind I'm not very good with dates and stuff. In my mind, that wasn't the same time period. But it totally is. I guess I never thought about
a
that.
variety of clever contraptions to defend the city. There was a giant claw that could grab and destroy Roman ships, and purportedly
invented
even
claw
a big mirror
machines.
that could magically ignite them. The Carthaginian forces on the island attempted to come to Syracuse's rescue, but luckily for the Romans, they all got diarrhea
Oh.
and then died. Finally,
Ow.
in the city itself, the day of a big annual religious festival came, and the Syracusans said, "Well, fellas, we've been holding off the Romans for over a year now. I think we've earned ourselves a little party."
Oh no. They're all gonna get drunk.
Sir, we're still under a massive siege. Are you sure? They'll probably take advantage of it. Well, Carl, I'm taking advantage of the open bar. Sir, they've got battering rams. Well, Carl, I'm ramming these hors d'oeuvres into my mouth. Sir, they'll tear down our walls. Well, Carl, I'm tearing it up on the dance floor.
Oh,
Sir,
no.
they're literally at the gates. Well, Carl, I'm literally at the cheese platter. Marcellus took advantage of the drunken festivities, stormed the city,
That's
and plundering ensued.
That's the stupidest reason to lose your city because you were partying. Are you kidding me?
In the chaos, Marcellus ordered Archimedes be captured alive. Some sources say Roman troops entered
Aruba.
Archimedes' home, and they were like, "Hey man, are you the math guy? Go away, I'm drawing circles. Look, I just need to know if you're the nerd. Come on, bro, get out of here, you're messing up my circles." Now is not a good time to draw circles. It's always a good time for circles.
I agree,
love
circles are
circles.
awesome.
Either stop drawing the circles or I kill you. I choose the circles. Despite not securing Archimedes, by 210 BC, the Romans did secure Sicily and also put down a Carthage-supported rebellion on nearby Sardinia. 2 Roman successes, and there were more
I feel like
to
you kinda
come.
need that.
After Cannae, King Philip V of Macedon saw an opportunity. He was concerned with recent Roman expansion into Illyria, and so, when he saw Hannibal annihilating the Romans in Italy, he said, "Oh my gosh!
That's a good idea. I could do that.
Hey, Hannibal! Oh my gosh, you're so cool! Let's form an alliance and annihilate the Romans together!" Sure. Yes!
He's like a fanboy. Good for him. I mean, it's kinda, I guess it must have, Rome has really antagonized a lot of neighbors in their conquest or expansion. Everyone's pissed at them.
Hannibal hoped to secure Philip's help in fighting Rome, but a Roman army was sent to the region, stirred up Philip's other Greek opponents, and essentially kept Philip bogged down in Greece for the entire duration of the war.
Oh, wow.
Another kind of Roman success. But the main front Rome was hoping to push Carthage back in was Spain.
That's what I
The
said.
riches of Spain made it
What's New Carthage up to? What's Cartagena up to?
one of Carthage's most valuable possessions, and the Romans were eager to weaken it. Remember way back at the start of the war, the consul Scipio was supposed to go to Spain, but
I
ended
do
up
remember.
rushing back to Italy when he realized Hannibal was crossing the Alps. He then faced Hannibal at Ticinus and had to be rescued by his son. Well, after he recovered from his wounds, he proceeded with the original plan and joined his brother in Spain. There, the two Scipio brothers fought a successful campaign
brothers.
against Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal. Over the next few years, they won a number of key victories.
How many like relatives does he have? I feel like there's so many people. Hannibal, Hasdrubal, Hamilcar.
Even taking Saguntum, the city that had kick-started this entire war. Yet more Roman success. A trend appeared to be emerging. Whenever the Romans fought anyone other than Hannibal, they usually came out on top. Perhaps these
Hannibal
other
who's the
fronts
problem.
would be the key to Rome taking back control of this war. Perhaps it was time for Rome to return to their old ways of being the aggressive go-getters. And perhaps it would help if Rome had a Hannibal of their own.
Dun, dun, dun. Look at those powerful eyebrows.
Scipio, the younger, was the son of Publius Scipio, currently fighting in Spain. This made him a
I don't know which one of the two. It's the Scipio brothers. I don't know which one that is. The one who went back to see Hannibal, to intercept Hannibal on his way through the Alps, or his brother.
member of one of Rome's most prestigious families. Not much
Yeah,
is known of
everyone's in
his childhood,
Scipio.
although there is one story of how he was getting hot and heavy with a young lady, only to have his dad barge in and drag him out wearing nothing but a cloak. This story was written by a Roman poet to make Scipio look bad, but by modern standards has ended up making him look pretty rad. My guess is if Rome had a high school football team, Scipio would be the quarterback.
Like he's a jock.
Scipio was only 18 when the Second Punic War broke out. He was at the Battle of Ticinus, where he famously rescued his father, and he was one of the
this
survivors
one.
of the
Okay,
Battle of
okay,
Cannae,
okay.
after which he threatened to cut down any man who dared abandon Rome. He was a natural leader and up to his ears in spunk, and therefore he rose through the
Thanks for clarifying. It's American English. The white liquid did not help with the visualization here.
Roman ranks shockingly fast. We need a new military tribune, but Hannibal has killed so many men. We're running out of
There's
options.
none left.
Put me in, coach.
Scipio, you're only 20. You can't be a tribune.
I
Come
don't
on.
know. That seems peak tribunal age. They get them started young. We have sent Tullus to the front lines. Let's go.
Coach, put me in.
Well, you do have a lot of spunk. All right, you're hired. We need to elect a new aedile. Who do we have left?
Put me in, coach.
Scipio, you don't meet the minimum age requirement.
I got this, coach.
I got this. Well, okay then. You're in.
I don't know what aedile
My
is.
room's a mess. I gotta cook dinner. Oh, and would you look at that? My fly's down. Life sucks. Put me in, coach.
Wow, you're so spunky.
When Scipio was 25, however, he received some bad news. His father and uncle in Spain had both been defeated in battle, and shockingly, both of them were killed. The news must have been devastating.
I'm not quite sure how it worked back in the days, because I feel like maybe my mental image of like the brave general leading the troops in Cibele isn't quite accurate, and would actually be in the back scheming. But in my mind, it's not that surprising that they would get killed. Like, surely that's what you try to do, right? Kill the leader?
For the young
That's what I
Scipio.
would try and do.
But it was also devastating for Rome, as almost all of their Spanish gains were wiped away. Okay, listen up! We need someone to go and replace the Scipios in Spain. So, who's up for it? Come on, who's gonna go? Fabius, Spain seems unwinnable. There's no glory to be had there. Yeah, the glory is here, defending the homeland from Hannibal. Well, somebody has to go. I said, well, somebody has to go.
Put me in, car!
Scipio was eager to be the one to go and replace his father and uncle in Spain. However, there was concern amongst the older senators. You're only 26. You can't lead a military campaign. He's right. That's a good point. And you're 71. You can't stand up without a little urine dribbling down your leg. That's a good point.
Oh, wow, got him.
Scipio didn't meet the typical requirements for the position, but as the only person willing to go,
I wonder what the
this
age
young
requirement
piece
was.
of hot Roman meat was unanimously elected proconsul and sent to lead the Roman armies in Spain. He hoped to carry out a campaign as impressive as Hannibal's had been in Italy. In fact, Scipio rather admired the one-eyed general. Scipio, you've got a Hannibal poster in your room. Yes, but he's the enemy. I'll let you in on a secret, Billy. You know how we're gonna win this war? By marching straight at the enemy? No, that's the old way. We've gotta be less Roman and a little more Hannibal. Hey, by the way, don't you
To be fair, I feel like learning the tactics of your enemies and the way he thinks and what he's up to is not a bad idea. I mean, clearly he's doing something right.
just barge into my room? That's an infringement of my privacy. Privacy, you say? Well, Scipio,
NordVPN?
if it's privacy you want, then you, my friend, need Nord
I knew it.
VPN. Don't touch me. How would you like to be innocently downloading inspirational photos of Nicolas Cage, only to realize it's malware stealing your data
No.
and telling all your friends you still sleep between your parents because of scowy dweems? Yeah, didn't think so. And that's
That would
why
be
you need
upsetting.
NordVPN. With a single click, NordVPN connects you to secure servers around the world, keeping you safe from malware and other online threats. Their Threat Protection Pro features go the extra mile in preventing your data being stolen by scanning your downloads for malware, blocking malicious websites, and even detecting fake online shops. DolceandBanana.com? I don't think so. But that's not all. With NordVPN, you're not just protected, you can also unlock better deals in other regions and access content that isn't available in your country. So get protected today by heading to NordVPN.
Was it like his second most popular video? Did I just see that right? That's kind of crazy.
vpn.com/oversimplified and grab an exclusive deal with 4 extra months for free. That's nordvpn.com/oversimplified. And as always, you'll be supporting my channel. So thank you. Now, where were we? Oh yeah. Hannibal contained a young piece of hot Roman meat sent to lead the Roman armies in Spain. Scipio was charismatic, extremely confident, bold, and probably most importantly of all,
Okay, hold on. I need to click back on the
was
baldness
charismatic,
thing.
extremely confident, bold.
Scipio's baldness is somewhat up for debate. He is said to have had flowing blonde hair in his youth, but Roman busts depict an older Scipio with a big bald dome. Some say those busts are misidentified. If he did go bald, when did it happen? He's 26 in the scene. I know a guy who had a beautiful head of hair at 21, but went full Lex Luthor at 24. The simple fact is male power and baldness can strike anytime, anywhere, and no one's safe. It's not something to be ashamed of. Look at all these amazing trailblazers out there with no hair. Vin Diesel, Dominic Toretto, Xander Cage, to name just a few. What I'm trying to say? Xander Cage, who's that? Oh, Mr. Clean. I nearly forgot I'm Mr. Clean. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is many uncertainties exist in ancient history, so the content kindly typing actually oversimplified. Did you know Scipio wasn't really bald? I said to you, figure out a way to bend space-time to your will. Use those powers to travel 2,200 years in the past. Take us out of Scipio and bring it to me. Seriously, if you could do that, that'll be helpful. Thanks in advance. Oh, the more you know.
And probably most importantly of all, he thought differently
And he probably
from other
went bald
Roman
at some
generals.
point.
So, Skippy, what's the plan?
Most men do.
We're Roman, so same thing as usual, right? We march straight at the enemy, right? Get this, Billy.
Also, listener, right now, if you're going bald and you're spending so much effort trying to not look bald, it's okay to be bald. It's better to shave it all off. Go in the bald separated. You'll see.
No, we don't. Scipio was a real outside-the-box thinker. There were 3 main Carthaginian armies in Spain, 2 led by Hannibal's brothers, Hasdrubal and Mago, and another led by Hasdrubal Gisco. Most Roman generals might have looked at these armies and
Mago
said,
doesn't even
I just gotta,
kind of name.
march straight at these guys and kick their ass and stuff. But not Scipio. At a time when many believed winning battles won wars, one of Scipio's greatest strengths was an ability to see the overall strategy behind his actions. He knew that Spain was the closest thing Hannibal had to...
Sorry, that when you explain it like this, it just seems so simple and easy. I know it's obviously oversimplified, but it makes everyone else look like idiots.
A base of support. With its mass resources and manpower, it's where Hannibal likely hoped to get supplies and reinforcements from. Spain's base of support was the city of New Carthage, the most fortified city on the peninsula, perfectly positioned to communicate with and receive supplies from Africa. And so, if Scipio managed to take New Carthage, he could take Spain. And if he took Spain, then maybe Hannibal would fall. To Scipio, Spain wasn't just some sideshow. It was the main show, and it all rested on New Carthage. But a surprise attack on Carthage's capital city in Spain? It was a ridiculous idea. Even if you pull off the 7-day forced march past the Carthaginian armies to New Carthage. Once you get there, you'd only have a couple weeks to take the city before the Carthaginians arrived to kick your ass.
That makes sense.
Sieges of cities that fortified usually took
10 days march. Man, Europe really is very small, huh?
months, if not years. So, Scipio, how are you gonna pull this off? Well, first of all, to make sure the surprise plan stayed hidden, Scipio kept it a total secret, even from his own men. Where are we going, Skippy? I'm not telling you. Is it Disneyland? I'm not telling you. I think that means we're going to Disneyland. This secrecy kept the
Take them to
Carthaginians
Disneyland,
from
take them to
preemptively
McDonald's.
reinforcing the city. As a result, New Carthage was left under garrisoned because the Carthaginians believed it to be kind of naturally impenetrable. It was surrounded on 3 sides by a lagoon and only accessible via a narrow isthmus. What's an isthmus?
Huh. I'm trying to remember when I went to Cartagena. I don't remember this layout, but obviously layouts can change over time and it's been a long time. But I do remember it's on the coast.
Isthmus, you ask? Maybe read a book. All right, Scipio, you made it to New Carthage. Now the other Carthaginian armies are only a 10 days march from coming and kicking your ass. Just what were you thinking?
I wonder if
Well.
there's any armies that could come from the sea, from the other coast.
Scipio had learned something crucial. Every afternoon, the tides made the lagoon around New Carthage briefly shallow enough to cross. So, he ordered a large diversionary attack on the main city gates, distracting the city's defenders. Then, a small infiltration force traversed the lagoon,
clever.
climbed the unguarded northern walls, and entered the city. They ambushed the guards and opened the city gates to the rest of Scipio's army. And just like that, New Carthage had fallen.
That is so... Would the Carthaginians not be aware of, like, the currents and the tides? Is that not something they would be really concerned about? Like, surely, if you see that happen every day, think about that.
In a single day, Scipio had taken
Wow.
Carthage's capital city in Spain, and he made it look easy. With it, he seized much of Carthage's war supplies, several silver mines near the city, and various powerful Iberian tribes even joined his side. And now he was in a great position
That's
to
a
take
big
on
dot.
the other Carthaginian armies in Spain. Wow, Skippy, you're amazing. Don't call me that. How'd you know the lagoon would get shallow? It's almost like you speak to the gods. No, I told him. All the local farmers know about the yes, that's it.
Of course, I guess, do they not know about tides yet? Back in the
I
day?
speak to the gods.
Scipio had no problem allowing his men to think he was divinely inspired. Roman writers also tell us another of Scipio's traits. He was apparently quite merciful in victory and often protected the inhabitants of captured cities. Spencer! What are you doing? Well, I was just about to murder this family. Hey, bad Spencer! No! Can I at least kill the dad? No! What about the... No! Oh, you're mean! The Carthaginian generals in the region must have been shocked at the loss of their capital city. There was
Yeah,
now a
that's
Terminator
crazy.
in Spain, and he was coming. In 208 BC,
Hasta la
he made a
vista,
move on
baby.
Hasdrubal, hoping to defeat him before the other Carthaginian armies could come and link up. When Hasdrubal heard Scipio was coming, he said, Hasdrubal
Valid
did the
response.
sensible thing and climbed a big hill for safety.
Hey!
I thought it was gonna be he did the sensible thing and went to meet up with the other troops, but I guess a big hill also works.
Get down here, I want to kill you.
Fat chance, Vin Diesel!
Well, he doesn't have to be rude. So what's the plan then, Scipio? This time, we march straight up and at him. Right? Right, Scipio? Billy? No. Scipio once again displayed a distinctly not Roman approach to fighting, when instead of marching straight up and at him, Scipio feigned a frontal skirmish, only to pull off a surprise uphill embellishment.
He's really learned from Hannibal.
Not an easy thing to do, but Scipio had trained his army to pull off maneuvers that typical Roman armies couldn't. After the battle, the defeated Hasdrubal fled Spain, hoping to link up with his brother Hannibal in Italy. And Hannibal desperately
Wouldn't it be easier to link up with his other brother?
needed the help. As Scipio was dominating in Spain, Hannibal's struggles in southern Italy continued. He was convinced that if he just received ample supplies and reinforcements, he could reverse his fortunes and get back to kicking Rome's ass.
How are they
But
gonna
for the
get
remainder
there?
of the war, he would suffer a frustrating lack of support from the Carthaginian Senate. After Cannae, Hannibal had sent his brother Mago to Carthage, where he famously poured out golden rings taken from fallen Roman knights. He told the Senate that with reinforcements, Hannibal could finish the job. But a growing faction in the Senate, possibly jealous of Hannibal's rising influence, opposed sending any help. In the end, a large number of
I just don't understand this logic of putting your own ego before your country when fighting for your country is literally your job. I don't understand how you can put your own ego and career above like the lives of men stuck in a foreign country. It makes no sense
the
to me.
reinforcements gathered for Hannibal now ended up being diverted to stop Scipio in Spain. Just as he had hoped, Scipio's campaign in Spain was actively harming Hannibal in Italy. However, those reinforcements meant that when Scipio made a move on the remaining Carthaginian armies in Spain, they now likely outnumbered him. With the odds heavily stacked against him, it would take some serious skill to win this battle.
I'm scheming.
This time we're gonna march straight at them, right? No, Billy!
Oh my gosh, Billy, get the
The
hint!
preceding Battle of Ilipa is often considered Scipio's masterpiece because it was positively oozing with deception and trickery. First, both sides spent several days forming up and facing off without actually fighting. On each day, Scipio placed his strongest Roman legions in the center with his weaker Iberian allies on the sides. Seeing this, the Carthaginians were like, "This guy's an idiot. We've seen his plan. His strongest troops are going to be in the center. So let's form all of our battle plans based on this information. I'm sure he won't change anything at the last minute."
Oh
Then,
no.
when the day of battle came, Scipio woke up the Carthaginians with an early morning attack, causing them to rush out of camp without breakfast. When the Carthaginians lined up with their strongest troops in the center to meet Scipio's, they were stunned to find that Scipio had completely reversed his order. The weaker Carthaginian sides now found Scipio's strongest bearing down on them. Then, in an extremely impressive maneuver, the well-trained Roman wings even stretched out during their approach, hitting
Because obviously that is good because now your strong flanks is gonna annihilate the sides. But you gotta do something about the middle because they have a, if one side's stronger than the other, the opposite is also
the
true.
Carthaginians from the sides. The Carthaginian center could have turned to help, but Scipio had ordered his center to approach so slowly that Carthage's center could do nothing but just stand and wait. In this way, the outnumbered Scipio had cleverly controlled events so that the bulk of the strongest Carthaginian troops couldn't even fight during the battle. He had completely removed them from
Very
the equation.
smart.
The incredible Scipio had inflicted a monumental defeat on a much larger enemy force. And the Battle of
Wow.
Ilipa
That's
was the
crazy.
final nail in the coffin
It's at 7,000 behind my fat hat, but
for Carthaginian Spain. Yet more tribespeople continued to side with the Romans, and the remaining Carthaginians retreated to the coast and eventually fled the peninsula. And would you look at that? In just a few years, the incredible young Scipio had turned Spain completely red. The Carthaginians must have been stunned. His Spanish campaign had almost been as impressive as Hannibal's campaign in Italy. In fact, see if any of this sounds familiar.
And it's not like they were helping Hannibal in Italy, which is crazy.
In Spain, Scipio had used the environment of the battlefield to his advantage. He staged ambushes by concealed troops.
That's what I'm saying.
He
He
treated
learned
local
from
tribespeople
Hannibal.
well, earning their friendship. He even once forced his enemy to come out and fight him without breakfast. Each and every one of these tactics were possibly borrowed from a certain one-eyed general. In all the battles Scipio had fought against Hannibal, it seemed he may have been taking notes.
Hey!
Which is the only reasonable
What?
thing to do.
Stealing my tactics! I'm 700 miles away! I can't hear you! What did you say?
What?
What?
Better yet, Scipio's achievement in taking a well-fortified city, plus his understanding of the overall strategy, has led some historians to argue he wasn't just as good as Hannibal. Scipio may actually have been better.
Wow.
This young man, who many in Rome had doubted, had just shut those
I didn't keep up with the numbers, but so he's like 26 now. How old is Hannibal at this point?
silly billies. Right, the flip-up. Mere years ago, it looked like Rome had no chance of even surviving this war. But now, the momentum of war was shifting astonishingly fast. And for Hannibal in Italy, things
I
continued
feel like that really shows it doesn't take a whole lot. Like a small thing can shift the weight a lot.
to head south. Before Scipio had even gone to Spain, the Romans had placed Capua, Hannibal's largest city in Italy, under a dangerous siege. And in order to rescue it, Hannibal needed to take drastic action. Fast. Man, everything's falling apart.
Fine!
Applying pleasure
I'll
on
do
all
it.
sides.
Do what? Yeah, you've convinced me. I'll march on Rome.
Kinda late for that now, Hannibal. I feel like you missed the boat. But I guess Scipio's not in Rome. He's off in Spain.
Hannibal, that conversation was 5 years
5
ago.
years.
It's too late. No one's trying to
Yeah.
convince you to march on Rome.
I said I'll do it! Quit nagging me!
Hannibal with the steel
Hannibal
chair.
finally marched on Rome, hoping it might draw the Romans away from Capua. The Romans saw Hannibal approaching their city, and they freaked the hell out. Hannibal is said to have closely approached the city walls, inspecting the defenses, as the Romans inside quivered in their togas. However, Hannibal probably knew he had no chance of taking the city. The whole thing was a feint, and Hannibal soon left. The Romans famously coined the phrase, Hannibal is at the gates, to describe a
Hannibal's
moment
at
of
the
crisis or severe desperation. But for accuracy's sake, the phrase should probably be, Hannibal is at the gates. But don't worry, it's just a feint to draw the Romans away from Capua. And it didn't even work, because the Romans stayed at Capua, and the Capuans misunderstood and thought Hannibal had abandoned them.
Did he not explain to them? Like, does anyone communicate in this?
And so, they surrendered the city. But apparently that's not as catchy. Despite a few successes, including an ambush in 208 BC, where Hannibal managed to kill both consuls in one go, Hannibal was slowly but steadily losing his grip on southern Italy. Even Hasdrubal, who had fled Spain to join Hannibal, never reached his brother. He made his own dramatic crossing of the Alps, just as Hannibal had done. But unlike Hannibal, the second Hasdrubal arrived in Italy, he was immediately pulverized.
It is impressive he managed to make the crossing too, though no one really talks about it. But the crossing's like really impressive.
The
I'd
Romans
say.
then took his head and threw it over the walls into his brother's camp. Hannibal was becoming extremely isolated. After his impressive conquest of Spain, Scipio returned to Rome a hero. And when the election came for next year's consuls, despite not meeting the typical requirements, Scipio won in a landslide. But the question now was, what would he do next?
Yeah.
All right, what's your plan then, Scipio?
I guess we gotta drive out Hannibal. But I don't know what the troops are looking like. If they've strengthened, maybe... Are we still gonna do the hit and run kind of strategy? Hannibal's really been weakened at this point. But he's not an idiot.
You're gonna go fight Hannibal now, right? Get this, Fabius.
Are you gonna do the famous
No.
strategy?
Whoa!
What?
Scipio's plan remained the same as before.
Okay.
Don't attack the monster directly.
Just wait
Attack
for him.
his base of support.
Yeah, he's already quite cut off. He's done that quite well. Maybe at some point we'll just go home.
Which now happened to be Carthage itself. That's right, Scipio would invade Africa. However, Scipio understood that any invasion of Africa would stand a much better chance if he could secure an alliance with one of the African tribes. Throughout the war, Carthage's far superior Numidian cavalry, which came from this part of Africa, had played a critical role in winning battles. Numidia was divided between two rival kings. In the east, the king Syphax had sympathized with Rome for much of the war, and so at some point, Scipio visited Syphax to ratify a treaty.
They're gonna be so mad they didn't help Hannibal. This could maybe, of course you never know, we can't rewrite history, but this could maybe have been avoided, you know?
It just so happened, however, that the Carthaginian general Hasdrubal Gisco, whom Scipio had fought in Spain, also arrived at the exact same time. And so Syphax invited both Scipio
How
and Gisco
awkward.
for a meal. The two men fought for Syphax's alliance, and by Roman accounts, Scipio was positively charming. Come on, Syphax, stick with us Romans. We'll build a naked statue of you. Very enticing. If you join our side, Syphax, we'll give you a 2% discount on figs. You like figs, don't you? Not really. Hey, Syphax, check this out. Wow! Hey, Syphax, check this out.
What an awkward dinner party.
Did he just defecate? I believe he did. Well, Scipio, you clearly are the most charming man in the Mediterranean. My alliance is... Syphax, I'll let you marry my extremely hot daughter. Yours! Humana, humana! On a...
Imagine, this is crazy that alliances are based on race or how hot your daughter
Able to
is.
compete with Syphax's libido, Scipio instead made contact with Syphax's rival, the other Numidian king, Massinissa, who was a longtime ally of Carthage. Scipio told
Way closer
Massinissa,
to
if you
Carthage.
join the Romans, I'll help you defeat Syphax and become the ultimate Numidian king. And so Massinissa was now on Team Rome. Good job, Skippy. With a Numidian alliance solidified, Scipio prepared for his invasion of Africa. He raised a volunteer force that included many of the disgraced survivors from
Oh,
Cannae,
no.
and he set sail. Well, Terry, any news from Italy? Has Hannibal won the war yet?
Who on earth?
He could have maybe if you gave him resources.
Here's Skippy!
Terrifying.
The Roman landing sent a clear message to the Carthaginians. You don't invade us. No, we invade.
What's the name of that movie? Wait, I know the reference with the twins and stuff. What's the horror movie called? This is gonna really bother me. It's a classic.
You. For the first time in the war, the Carthaginian homeland was under threat, and the Carthaginians needed to defeat Scipio at all costs. They gathered a huge army led by Hasdrubal Gisco, with allied Numidians led by Syphax, and they ordered them to get Scipio the hell off their continent. Sources say at this point, Scipio was severely outnumbered.
Scipio? That army's huge. There's no way we can beat off all these men. How are we
Now
gonna
with
beat
that
off all these
attitude.
men? Vigorously.
With spunk.
And while maintaining eye contact. As always, Scipio had a plan to deal with the larger enemy force. It just so happened that Syphax was offering to try and broker peace between the Romans and the Carthaginians. And Scipio smelled an opportunity. He sent a Roman envoy to Syphax's camp. And when they got there, Syphax was like, "Hey guys, welcome to the enemy camp." Just
my
before
gosh.
we begin negotiations, a small safety demonstration. As you can see, our huts are made of grass and reeds. Very flammable. If there was even a single spark, this whole place would become a raging inferno.
Thanks
and
for
all my
telling
men
us.
would burn alive. Very interesting. The Roman troops then reported back to Scipio about the Numidian camp, its construction, and most importantly, its flammability. Then, the following night, as the sun was setting over the beautiful African plains, and the
I like the Carthaginian emblem. It looks like a little guy with his hands up.
Carthaginians got all comfy in their beds, they began to gently dream of Carthaginian figs and child sacrifice. Good night, Carthaginians. Good night, Syphax and Gisco. Good evening, Scipio. In the night, shadowy Roman figures approached the Numidian camp.
That little face
As
is
the
also silly.
Numidians lay in their beds, Scipio executed his plan. The camp erupted into flames. With the flammable wooden huts, the fires spread terrifyingly fast. Men were burned in their beds. Those who awoke in a panic, believing the fire to have been some kind of terrible accident, rushed to the exits without their weapons and armor. Those who saw the fire from the Carthaginian camp also rushed out unarmed. And when they got there he was, Scipio, the Romans, and their steel.
That's a bad situation to be in. What are you gonna even do about that? Apart from
The terrified Carthaginians were
inventing flame extinguishers, I guess. Yeah, what are you gonna do about that?
massacred, and with heavy casualties, Hasdrubal and Syphax fled the scene of the disaster. Scipio followed this incredible success with another
So wait, does his daughter have to come back now?
victory against the pair at the Battle of the Great Plains. After that, Massinissa chased his rival Syphax into his kingdom, where Syphax was captured. Massinissa was now the ultimate Numidian king. He entered Syphax's capital
That kinda makes sense because the name Massinissa rings a bell and Syphax doesn't.
city. He seized Syphax's palace. He even married Syphax's wife.
No way!
And when Scipio got mad at him for marrying a Carthaginian girl, he then poisoned his wife.
No way!
Boys will be boys. Having defeated the Carthaginian army,
What? That's... Wow, yeah, I think every girl mentioned has had a pretty bad time in this video.
in Africa, almost nothing now stood between Scipio and Carthage. And the Carthaginians were freaking out. What do we do? What do we do? There's only one thing left to do.
Call Hannibal back?
Recall him.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Hannibal, you've been here in Italy for 16 years.
Wow.
This is practically your home. You're basically
16.
Italian.
So I guess he would be, by old day standards, he's middle-aged.
Yes, Gerald. And I've had such a lovely time. I ate spaghetti, did this with my hands. I've committed my whole life to this campaign. And once Rome has fallen, it'll all have been worth it. Hannibal, you have to return to Carthage. Your Italian campaign has been for nothing. Your whole life has been a waste. No! Imagine being Hannibal in this moment. You left Carthage when you were 9. You probably barely even recognize your own homeland. The kingdom he had built in Spain with his father? Gone.
I forgot how young
and
he
now
was.
his Italian campaign, his vengeance. Was it really all for nothing?
I didn't know, Hannibal, you killed like a lot of people.
But that was that. Carthage was under threat, and Hannibal had to protect his home city. As he left Italy, in Rome, there was celebration, but also some trepidation. Now, Scipio would have to face Hannibal in Africa, where Hannibal would have home advantage. While Hannibal was on his
I mean, I guess he has home advantage, but he hasn't been there in such a long time. I don't know. I feel like maybe the relationship between him and Carthage might be a bit strange
way,
too.
the Carthaginians stalled for time and approached Scipio for peace talks. Hey, look, we never meant to start an all-out 2-decade-long war, but you did. No, that was Hannibal. He's to blame for all of this. Well, all right then. Sign this peace treaty. Okay, let me just get my signature right on there. He's here. Yes! Oh, look who's here, you bald prick! You're so dead now, Skippy. Don't call me that!
But it's a good nickname.
After Carthage proposed peace, only to then go back on it, the normally merciful Scipio was enraged. He began refusing to accept town's surrender, and instead began burning everything to the ground, selling
Jeez, he's pretty easily rage baited, huh?
everyone into slavery. Hannibal, he's burning our towns. Go stop him. Guys, he's obviously trying to lure me out there to fight on those flat plains, where his Numidian cavalry will give him the advantage. It's a trick. Well, it's working. Go and fight him. It's obviously a trap, and we're falling for it.
Oh my god, how the
Hannibal set out
turntables!
to meet Scipio in the Western Plains. And here came Scipio's final test. Finally, the teacher would face the student, the two greatest generals of all time, in one last, decisive battle. Would Hannibal's genius still shine through? Or would Scipio prove that he had surpassed the master? Before battle, the two great generals rode out from their camps and met in person for the first time. Hannibal, I'm a huge fan.
That must be so weird. I mean, I guess they might have seen each other from afar, but that must be so weird that they never would have met.
I thought you'd have more hair, and I thought you'd have more eyes.
Got him.
They then had a conversation, which I'll paraphrase. Hannibal said, "At the start of this war, I had great fortune in Italy. But look at me now, a sad old man who, like other sad old men, failed to conquer Rome. Your fortune can change rapidly, Scipio. You should consider negotiating a peace rather than risking it all in one last fight against me." Very eloquently put. Scipio then replied,
Go screw yourself.
You! Negotiate? Negotiate what? I took Spain. I'm about to burn your pathetic city to the ground. What could you offer me in negotiations? I already have it all!
Whoa, Scipio, calm down. Whoa, Scipio, take a
Seriously
deep
though,
breath.
Hannibal, I am such a big fan. And so, it was settled. The two great generals would face off one last time in the epic Battle of Zama. Scipio gave his men, consisting of many survivors from Cannae, a pre-battle speech, telling them not only would they gain redemption, but they could become masters of the world.
I mean, that's a pretty big motivation. And Rome's pretty well on the way to do that, to be
Hannibal
fair.
told his men probably nothing, because most of them didn't even speak the same language. As the two armies
The
lined
bad
up for
side.
battle, something interesting became clear. Hannibal had more infantry and hoped to use them to brute strength the Romans. But Scipio had the nimble
Huh. That is interesting. That's usually the Roman strategy.
Numidian cavalry and hoped to pull off an envelopment. It was a complete role reversal.
That's what I'm
of Cannae.
saying.
As the battle began, Hannibal made his first move. He sent his 80 war elephants to smash through and weaken the Roman infantry. Scipio had the perfect response. He had
Classic
altered
chest
his
opening
formation
so far.
to create passages between the Roman maniples. His light troops stepped aside at the right moment, revealing the gaps ahead of the charging elephants. Elephants, if given the choice between a suicide charge into spears or a nice clean escape, will probably choose the escape.
That
And
makes
that's
sense.
what happened. Some elephants were so frightened
Wait, did they just run through it now? That's so silly.
from the noise that they even turned and smashed back into the Carthaginian cavalry, which the Roman cavalry
Did they
then
not
engaged.
desensitize them?
Your move, Hannibal.
Okay, let's see how's this chessboard looking. I mean, that rook all the way over is not great. Not great for Hannibal, I'm gonna be honest. That's a terrible position for him to be in. There's no defense here if that rook moves. Oh, Hannibal, you're gonna be
Hannibal
cooked.
wasn't an idiot. He knew that he was fighting superior Numidian cavalry on open plains. So when his weaker cavalry ended up being routed from the battlefield, he probably wasn't surprised and hoped the Roman cavalry would be lured as far from the battlefield as possible because his infantry needed time to do a clever little job. Hannibal had the numerical advantage, and he had positioned
Why is
his
it that
army
clever on
in
the
3
chessboard?
lines. The weaker troops were at the front, while his best men, the army that had been with him in Italy, were in the rear. As the Romans smashed into the weaker front lines,
I hope they had time to rest after coming from home, else that might be a factor.
they managed to cut through them, but suffered losses and exhaustion in doing so. The same with Hannibal's second line, so that by
But
the
the
time the
cavalry might
Romans
double
reached
back.
Hannibal's superior third line, the two sides may have now been about equal in number. But the exhausted Romans had just fought an entire battle to get there, while the remaining Carthaginians were fresh and ready to go. Hannibal was still a genius. And this is where the final race began. Could Hannibal's stronger
Is the cavalry gonna double back?
infantry finish off the Romans before the Roman cavalry returned from their pursuit?
That's what I'm saying.
Who would be quicker? the Carthaginian infantry, or the Roman cavalry? The answer: the cavalry.
They
had
have
pulled off their
horses.
pursuit just in time to turn around and hit Hannibal from the rear. And that was the deciding move. As the sandwiched Carthaginians were hacked to pieces, Hannibal knew he had lost, and he escaped the battlefield. It was a battle that some historians say was well fought on both sides. Both showed their genius, but fortune fell in the favor of Scipio.
I guess that proves that horses are just better in battle than elephants. That's why we
With
no
just
longer
a
do
few
that.
thousand Roman casualties compared to 40,000 Carthaginians, Scipio had won. Hannibal advised the Carthaginian Senate that it was time to surrender. 17 years of war, finally over. The terms Rome placed on Carthage were harsh. They lost territory and were prohibited from starting any more wars with anyone without Rome's explicit permission. Carthage basically became a weak Roman client state. And what of these two military geniuses? Well, Scipio returned to Rome triumphant. For his victory in Africa, he was given the title Scipio Africanus. He had delivered Rome from an existential threat, and so, from here on out, he was primed to dominate Roman politics. He was even offered to become consul for life, but he humbly refused.
Wow, interesting. I feel like a lot of people would have taken that.
Politics being what it is, however, jealousy eventually grew. Scipio and his family ended up battling accusations of corruption. And Scipio, possibly becoming tired of Roman politics, retired to a nice country house by the coast.
That's the life.
Hannibal also took a leading role in Carthaginian politics after the war. But again, due to jealousy,
I don't know how good your image would be after this.
factionalism, and a possibility of arrest by the Romans, he eventually entered exile. He spent the remainder of his years out east, even advising enemies of Rome. Rome's hatred of
Even in his old age, he's scheming.
Hannibal endured, and they never stopped hoping to someday capture the monster. One story is told of how when a much older Hannibal was chilling in the city of Ephesus, a Roman delegation was sent to the city, and in that delegation was Scipio Africanus. The two men met for the second time, and they seemed to have gotten along quite well. Scipio asked Hannibal
Guess they have
who
a lot
he
in
thought
common.
the three greatest generals of all time were. Hannibal placed Alexander the Great in number 1, Pyrrhus of Epirus in number 2, and in third place, himself. Scipio then asked, "And what if you had defeated me at Zama?" "Well, Scipio, then I would have been the greatest general of all time. Please, call me Skippy." Eventually, around 183 BC, Hannibal, now in his 60s, came under threat of Roman capture. After a long life, he chose to take some poison. According to Livy, his last words: "Let us now relieve the Romans of the anxiety they have so long experienced, since they think it tries their patience too much to wait for an old man's death."
That is hardcore. Offing yourself and being like, doing it for you guys. XOXO. That's crazy.
Wow,
That's
Hannibal.
aura.
What a dignified end. Gross. And there you have it. The Second Punic War. Finally done. It took 17 years to end the war. And on a personal note, making these videos has also taken 17 years off my life. Carthage began to recover from the war shockingly fast, however. And
You guys did say there's a third one.
anxieties over Carthage would remain in Rome. In particular, one senator would begin calling for one last crusade against Carthage to end the threat once and for all. He famously began to end all of his speeches with one singular phrase, one of the most famous phrases in Roman history.
Oh my gosh. Carthage must be destroyed. Coming eventually. Wait, is it out? I don't know if I saw it on his channel. Wait, guys. Is this the third one might not be? What? I was hoping to just watch that like right now. I guess we'll have to wait. Thank you so much for this recommendation, guys. This was so incredible to watch. I feel like I learned a lot. I didn't know much about this, so I feel like this was really, really interesting. I feel smarter now. Thank you. I look forward to picking my next one to watch. That bucket thing looked interesting. Other pick one. I'll have to think about it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Enjoy the rest of your day. One.